to another series of Road to Seoul events. Welcome to a very special international sports exhibition as we get set to bring you the Vidal-Sassoon USA-USSR Gymnastics Summits. Good evening, I'm Tom Kelly, and indeed it's a pleasure to welcome you to a very special evening of entertainment. Gymnastics, the best in the world, the USSR gymnastics team and the United States of America gymnastics team. To provide the expertise on our telecast, we've enlisted the services of a gold medal winner from the 1984 gymnastics team, performed right here in this building at Pauley Pavilion, Peter Vidmar. Nice memories here, Peter.
It's great to be back. It really is, Tom.
I said the Russians were the best in the world. I hope I haven't misled anybody.
No, you certainly haven't. The Soviet team is probably the best team in the world, both men and women. They're very hungry for the 1988 Olympics, and they're really looking forward to these games because it's been a long time since they competed in the Olympics.
In Seoul this year, in '88, it'll be the first time in 12 years the United States and the Russians have met in athletic competition. But while the countries haven't met in all forms, the gymnasts have met on an almost regular basis, haven't they?
Yeah, and it started back in 1983. That was my first competition competing for the USA against the Soviets, and they didn't send their best team, and we ended up winning that competition. So they're hungry. They send the best team every time now. So the top guns are here, and it's happened about every other year now since 1983. So we're going to see some great routines.
What benefit can this United States team have in going against the Russians if indeed they are the best? Kind of a measuring stick to see where they stand?
It really is. It's an indicator. We kind of set the Soviets up as our standard, and from there then we try to see where we stand as a team. I think that we've closed the gap in the last few years, and that finally we're going to be ready to do very well in 1988.
I should remind our audience that there is no scoring kept in this. This is strictly an exhibition, but you are going to see the best in the world. The Russians, and we'll show you just a few of the names that are going to be taking part. As you see down the bottom of that page, Scott Johnson and Tim Daggett, the only two members of the '84 team still in competition.
That's right. Most of the team is retired, including myself, but Scott's doing very well. He's healthy, he's working hard, and Tim Daggett's overcoming a very serious injury. He has a slight chance still to make that team, and I think he could do it if he just gets that leg healthy.
We'll be talking more about the United States team as it'll be comprised, and we'll pick Peter's brain a little bit to find out who's going to be on it, who could make it. That'll be in August coming up. More conversation later on that. Also on the program tonight, you're going to see the darling of the '84 games, Mary Lou Retton. It promises to be an exciting program. We thank you for joining us. Showtime indeed. Gymnastics at its best coming your way after we pause for this important message.
Ladies and gentlemen, the United States Gymnastics Federation presents the Vidal-Sassoon USA-USSR Gymnastics Summit. Once again, the gymnasts of the world are working toward the Olympic Games coming in September. And no gymnast can forget the excitement of the 1984 Olympic Games held right here in Pauley Pavilion 3 years and 9 months ago. But a most exciting event is happening here today. We are back together with our friends and competitors from the Soviet Union. We welcome these many-time world champions back to America. The Brotherhood of Gymnastics is complete, and our athletes and coaches are working together to build upon the ideals of sport. We are proud to present the finest athletes in the world and their world-class performances. Would you now welcome the athletes of the Soviet Union and the United States of America? 1986 USA Championships, Brandy Johnson. On balance beam, USA national team member Lisa Panzeroni. On floor exercise, United States American Cup champion Phoebe Mills. On uneven bars, two-time USA national team member Do Yamashiro. On balance beam, Soviet Union national bronze medalist Yelena. At floor exercise, American Cup bronze medalist Shelley Stack. On horizontal bar, 1985 national champion Brian Babcock. On floor exercise, number 3 man in the USA Gymnastics, Wes Suter. On uneven bars, last year's USA-USSR silver all-around medalist Natalia Laschenova. At pommel horse, 3-time USA national team member John Omori. On balance beam, the 7th all-around in 1987 USA Championships, Miss Stacy Gunthorpe. On still rings, USA national team member and NC2A athlete from UCLA, Mike Chaplain. At floor exercise, on her 3rd trip to the United States, Soviet Union's Natalia Frolova. Parallel bars, 3-time USA team member Mike Rice. On horizontal bar, the 7th all-around of the USA national team, NC2A and UCLA's Curtis Holdsworth. On floor exercise, American Cup silver medalist, Soviet national team member Igor Korobchinsky. Uneven bars, 2-time USA team member and the highest American finisher in the World Championships, Rhonda Fain. On pommel horse, the number 4 all-around gymnast in the United States, NC2A All-American Tom Schlesinger. Balance beam, the number 1 gymnast in the Soviet Union, the beautiful Olga Strazheva. On still rings, the number 3 gymnast in the Soviet Union, world team member Valery Lyukin. On floor exercise from Allentown, Pennsylvania, American champion Hope Spivey. At parallel bars, NC2A All-American from Nebraska, Kevin Davis. On horizontal bar now from Siberia, 6-time Soviet national team member Alexei Tikhonkikh. From Los Angeles Pan American Games, gold medalist Charles Lakes. On the uneven bars, world silver and bronze medalist Svetlana Boginskaya. World Championship team member from the Soviet Union on pommel horse, Vladimir Novikov. At balance beam, Pan American Games gold medal champion Sabrina Marr. At still rings, the current USA champion and 1984 Olympic gold medalist Scott Johnson. At floor exercise, the number 4 athlete in the Soviet Union, Oksana Omelianchik. Parallel bars, on his 9th visit to the United States, Soviet silver medalist and world gold medalist Vladimir Artemov. At horizontal bar, the man, 1986 championships of the USA silver medalist Dan Hayden. On floor exercise, 2-time world champion Yuri Korolia. At uneven bars, Pan Am gold medalist Melissa Marlowe. And ladies and gentlemen, making his comeback after injury, 1984 Olympic gold medalist at two-time and the current world champion, Dmitry Bilozerchev. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to open our show, we've invited one of your hometown favorites into the star position, a standout on the UCLA team with a big future awaiting him. Please welcome to Still Rings, UCLA's own Mike Chaplain.
There you see the statistics on Chaplain. He is a junior at UCLA on the still rings. He's 5'3", 128 pounds.
Rings is certainly one of Mike's best events. He's very powerful and strong. That was a planche lowering down to an iron cross. Back kick to an L. Press to a handstand, one of the required moves. Back up rise. Now he's going to set up for his dismount. Double layout. Nice landing.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done indeed. A junior at UCLA, Mike Chaplain. Next we go to the Soviet gymnastics team and a very special exhibition they're going to be putting on.
Here is the whole team and their
Soviet women's team, 6 strong.
They always put on this little group routine when they have an exhibition. It's really kind of nice because this is not an official gymnastics event.
Peter, I watched him rehearsing it earlier, and it's cute. It's a very cute little exhibition.
This is a real crowd pleaser. This is something different. You don't see this in competition. This is what's nice about this exhibition format.
And they'll do it with precision and style. Make sure of that.
You bet. What's amazing is they can whip this together so quickly. They just put the music on and the girls figure out a routine. It's not like they practice this all the time. They've got enough to worry about with their competitions coming up and working on their regular routines.
I can't help but imagine that the uniforms they're wearing, all different, kind of reflect the personalities of the ladies too, I would think.
Absolutely. I've actually seen the Soviet women use a routine like this almost as a warm-up before even a competition.
I tell you, it does look like a pretty good aerobics lesson, doesn't it, huh? Stretching, movement, dancing.
And they're just great dancers. They emphasize that so much. Even the men have some substantial background in dance. Everything they do is so precise. Not only their dance, but their tumbling again. Their toes point right off the floor. You know, the hours these girls put in is just unbelievable. They went out to they like to go out to Disneyland or Disney World whenever they're out here on competitions. And the morning that they went out to Disney World last year, they got up at 4:30 in the morning, did all their strength and conditioning exercises because they didn't have a chance to get to a gym that day. And they worked out for about 3 hours. And at 7:30 they had breakfast and went off to Disney World. Unbelievable.
In fact, several of them, Peter, have listed Disneyland as their favorite United States city. And ice cream is their favorite food.
And they're going there the day after this exhibition right now. This is great.
Yeah, you gotta like this.
Oh, look at that. This is a lot more extensive than their earlier routines they used to do. This is great. You can imagine them having a lot of fun just putting this together.
But if they weren't warmed up for their very special events to come, this will certainly get it done.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be exhausted at this point.
A very special routine by 6 members of the Soviet women's gymnastics team.
Boy, they must like to perform this routine. They're going to keep on going.
Well, it's like a Russian play. It's got a little of everything. A little laughter, a little drama, a little tears.
Yeah. But it's so nice. I mean, this really shows their extensive dance background. They're so good. I mean, this is combining all the elements that you need to create gymnastics. Its strength, its flexibility, its balance, its timing. So they're going to finish up with some fun stuff now. Here we go. Little tumbling. Consecutive cartwheels. Handspring step outs.
Hand in hand.
Look at that. So I guess, as you said, they're probably ready to start the show as soon as they're done with this. I'd probably be ready to go for a shower. Boy. Beautiful. Run off against him back layout. Layout full twist from Shevchenko.
And they make it look so easy.
This is just the beginning. Wait till we see the regular performances on floor exercise. You know, the women now are tumbling easily as well as the men were. In the past, the men were doing more difficult tumbling skills, but there really is no difference between the women and the men at this time.
There you are, the Soviet women gymnasts in a very special routine and well received. with more of this meeting between the Russians and the United States. But first, this message. And we return to the USA-USSR Gymnastics Summit. We go to the pommel horse, and it's going to be Valery Lyukin from the Russian team. World Championships, first team, 1987. European Championships, he was first in the all-around in 87.
Lyukin's really their rising star right now. He does probably the most difficult skills almost on every event in gymnastics. He's just unbelievable.
He's 21 and 5'5", and here he is on the pommel horse.
He's not weak in anything. There's his flares traveling across the horse, doing some counter rotations called spindles in flare. Extremely difficult. Now he moves across the horse in the longitudinal direction, touching all areas of the horse. That's a requirement in competition.
You have to work every end of it, don't you? Every inch of it.
Yep, up and down. Oh, no, you hit the horse there. That's a mistake. I know he didn't plan on that happening. Here's a flare. Going up for his dismount.
That whole routine about 30 seconds, Peter.
That's right.
Including the slight bobble in there.
Not very long. That would have been a big mistake, but, you know, they're having fun out here. He's throwing all the big tricks.
Valery Lyukin.
Let's see what happens here when he hits his leg. This is a counter rotation on one pommel. His right hand, see how low his right hand is on that pommel? It just bangs right into the horse.
And now we go to the high bar, and here's Vladimir Novikov of the Soviet team.
I call Novikov their go-for-it man. He basically just takes every trick in the book, every trick that he can do, and he throws it. That's a reverse act, immediate reverse act, immediate flyaway half. Incredibly difficult. 3 release moves in a row.
This is his second trip to the United States. He's been in gymnastics for 10 years.
And Novikov's trying to get ready for his dismount now. And a triple back flip. Oh. Whoa.
He seemed to be in the air forever. Beautifully done.
Okay, let's take a look at this dismount. It's a triple backflip. 3 flips before hitting the ground. There's 1, there's 2, 3. Opens up a little higher than he thought, and so it kind of threw his back down. He took a step.
Next up, young lady, Lisa Panzeroni. She's 15.
This is Lisa Panzeroni.
As you can see, 5 feet 1 inches tall and 82 pounds, just 15.
But, you know, that's the norm. All of the best girls in the country tend to be in high school. Now, there's always exceptions. We had Kathy Johnson competing at the age of 24 and winning 2 medals in the Olympics, but most of the girls tend to be young.
Like the women swimmers, very young.
Absolutely. It's her first tumbling pass, a round off back handspring, full in, back out. Very difficult. They're not holding back. This is an exhibition, but they're going for it.
Lisa has a rather unique hobby. She collects penguins, if you can believe it.
Now, a woman's floor exercise routine tends to be about 1.5 minutes long. It's one of the longest performances in gymnastics for both men and women. Men's is without music, and it's only about 1 minute. It's required to be within 50 to 70 seconds.
Do they use an exhibition like this as a means of maybe working on something new in their routine or seeing how it would fit in or what?
Oh, they sure do. Sometimes they'll do a completely new routine, maybe with new music. It's much different for girls because you can't just change a tumbling pass or change a dance move. You have to change everything to fit the music. Dismounts with a layout double twist.
Lisa Panzeroni from Columbus, Ohio, now living in Allentown, PA. We go now to the parallel bars, and this performer from the United States team, this is Mike Rice. He's out of Oklahoma University. Likes motorcycles and likes racing. NCAA All-American performer. Here's Mike Rice.
Mike's very powerful. In the USA-USSR dual meet, he had a very, very good routine on the parallel bars. This is one of his best events. That's an underbar swing, peach basket to a straddle cut. Most of the skills on parallel bars will occur from the handstand. That's called a stutz. A front uprise. Right up to a handstand. Now, this trick is called a Healy twirl. A little different. He straddles his legs there in the pirouette. Just to add a little extra touch to it. There's a back toss. Now he's going to set up for his dismount, a double back flip. Took a little step. That's a very good routine.
Very nice indeed. Mike Rice from Garden City, Kansas, of the United States team. Back to the
with many innovative moves and an obvious enjoyment of dance.
Now take a look at this dismount. This is a double tuck salto. Right off the bar, goes sideways to clear the rails. Double back, takes a little step. In competition, that'd be a deduction.
Shevchenko.
Elena Shevchenko now, and we go to the balance beam. Only 4 inches across. She's 16. 5'2" and 92 pounds.
Elena's really one of the most powerful gymnasts. She was a little bit inconsistent in the dual meet competition. And when that happens, when they go on to the exhibition, they take it a little bit more seriously, and it's very important for them to hit their routine successfully. She's not going to fool around up there. Then again, who would when it's only 4 inches wide? Back hamstring back layout. And she was just off, a little bit crooked. And this camera angle shows you how narrow that beam is, and the margin of error is just so slight.
Very pretty young lady.
She is.
Red hair, classic features.
And they use their dance so well. Balance beam is kind of like pommel horse for men. It's the event that everybody kind of hopes they can just get out of the way because it's so tough. You want to make it without falling off. Beautiful double back dismount.
Elena Shevchenko of the Soviet Union.
Elena Shevchenko.
That slight bobble she had in the middle of the routine, I'm sure, upset her a little bit.
Yeah. We'll take a look at that. This is a back handspring, back layout, and she's a little bit off to the right, and she can't quite hold on and just jumps off.
Many-year career in the sport. Graduating this fall.
This is John Amore.
In Tucson, we welcome to the parallel bars.
From the University of Arizona, though his hometown is Los Angeles. 24 years old, 5'4".
John's a real hard worker. Very, very consistent gymnast. It's a peach straddle cut right to a V, and he presses up to a handstand.
Peter, you were telling me earlier that every performer has to be an all-round gymnast. No longer do you get by competing in one event, that you must be able to perform them all.
That's right.
Yet each requires additional or different strengths, does it not?
That's right. In American collegiate competition, they're allowed to have specialists, gymnasts that may only do one event. But in international competition, you have to do all 6 events for men and all 4 events for women. So you have to be very well-rounded. Good routine. A little bobble at the end is a very good routine for John.
I would imagine with that thought in mind, then, that most collegiate coaches, when they go out and recruit, actually go out and recruit the all-round performer, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, because they don't want to get just 1 good score. They want to get 6 good scores. So they want a gymnast that's very, very good on 6 events.
We turn next to Stacy Gunthorpe. She's a 17-year-old from New Brunswick, New Jersey. Here she is with the floor exercises.
Stacy's a very powerful gymnast in floor exercise. Her tumbling skills are just excellent.
Might remind you again that this is an exhibition between the United States and the world's best, the Soviet Union. There are no points total.
And I'll tell you right now, so far, there would be no points taken off for Stacy. That was a beautiful mount. A full twisting double back flip. We get ready for her second tumbling pass. handspring, double backflip. Look how high she was.
Beautiful.
They're required to perform certain turns, certain leaps, as well as the tumbling skills. Beautiful. Double full.
Stacy Gunthorpe, 17 years old. We'll be back with more of this gymnastics summit. Welcome back to Pauley Pavilion, the scene of this gymnastics summit between the Russians and the United States. The Russians, men and women, considered to be the very best in the world. Some of the people you're watching here, undoubtedly, you'll be seeing later this year. Television coverage from Seoul in the Olympic Games. Next up, Yuri Korolia. He started when he was 10 years old, and he's 25. He's the world champion.
In fact, two of the Soviet gymnasts that are here, Korolev and Dmitry Bilozerchev, who we'll see later, are the only two gymnasts in the world that have ever won the world all-around title twice. They did it by alternating with each other each time. Korolev in the dual meet scored a 10 on this event. It's a beautiful one-arm giant to a one-arm reverse hack. It's called a Tikhonkikh, named after one of his teammates a few years ago. Those are inverted giants.
Peter, that must require great strength.
Well, the inverted giant, really, horizontal bar is a swing event. To do any of these skills really requires just a good sense of your body and tap. That was a double layout dismount, a perfect landing. But it's not nearly as difficult in terms of sheer strength as, for example, the rings or the quick explosive power that you need on floor exercise.
Yuri Korolia, and he gets a champion's reception as befitting a two-time world champion.
We'll take a look at that dismount. He does a double layout. It's a double back flip with his body stretched.
Ladies and gentlemen,
let's go to the board just at the right time. Incredible height, and he just zeroes in on the ground. Perfect landing.
You heard a gentleman by the name of Jack Whitaker and a lady by the name of
Now a very special guest here for this gymnastics summit between the United States
has her wings on today for this vault.
And the Soviet Union.
It's called a layout Sukahara.
That lady there, Mary Lou Retton.
There is the green light.
And they're reliving a moment from 4 years ago.
She has two vaults, remember.
When Mary Lou became the darling of the gymnastics world, especially the United States portion of it. They're replaying the Olympic coverage of a perfect 10. That must have been some night here, Peter.
Oh, it sure was. In fact, Mary Lou was standing in the spot that she scored that perfect 10 here in Pauley Pavilion.
Some of the crowd doesn't know she's here, of course. She's standing down in the corner, and when they ask her to come out, I'm sure the roof will come off the building. There's Korolia, Pauley Korolia, the coach. She's now chief of the United States Gymnastics Delegation.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and now the introduction
the
from Mary Lou
reigning
Retton.
Olympic champion of the 1984 Games, Miss Mary Lou Retton.
About the roof coming off, but they're all standing. She's not very tall, but boy, she is big.
Returning to the scene of the crime here. This is great.
She has a microphone.
Thank you so very much.
Vidal Sassoon.
Hearing that those voices again and remembering that moment so vividly in my mind, and being back here in Pauley Pavilion, the place where I did win my gold medal, brings back such wonderful, incredible memories for me. It definitely was the highlight of my career. And I want to take this time right now to thank America and to thank especially the city of Los Angeles for helping me through those Olympic Games and giving me the support during the Games and, of course, after the Games. Thank you all so very, very much. Thank you. My life has changed, to say a little bit, after the Games. I owe everything to the sport of gymnastics. I was in the sport for 12 years. I came to it. And one thing I do miss about it, when I'm working out now for the fun, I'm not competing anymore. When I'm working out, or when I finish a TV commercial, or a motivational speech, or even a class in college now, I don't have that famous Bella Karolyi bear hug to give me that extra oomph. That's something I do miss.
Hey, anybody out there still need a big bear hug?
I simply do. That's the voice I love and I know. Oh.
Well, there's a special moment relived from out of the past.
He's wonderful. He's the best. Thank you very much. Thank you again for your support. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Mary Lou Retton.
Thank you all. I love you.
And now we turn to Tom Schlesinger. Schlesinger, excuse me, from the University of Nebraska.
As well as being a member of the gold medal team. Currently ranked 4th in the country on P-bars, Mr. Tom Schlesinger.
Parallel bars.
Tom was the NCAA all-around champion last year. His team, Nebraska, finally won their NCAA title after a little bit of a drought. They were dominating gymnastics a few years ago, winning for 5 years in a row. And then for the last 3 years, they were second place, and in each competition missed first place by less than a point. And Tom and his teammate Kevin Davis, who we'll see a little bit later on, are both seniors, and they were hungry for a gold medal and for first place for that NCAA title, and they just won it.
His future plans include a medical career. He wants to be a doctor.
It's a V press to a handstand. There's a back toss, another back toss, and a double back dismount.
And a slight bobble there. Schlesinger, beautifully done.
A high school freshman from
And here's his back toss. It's basically a backflip on the bars from handstand to handstand. 2 in a row.
For half her life. At Kansas City last year, she won the
We go now to the uneven bars and Miss Brandy Johnson, who was 14. And as the public address announcer just told the crowd here at Pauley Pavilion, she has been in gymnastics half of her life. 7 years devoted to her sport.
And there's some high hopes placed on Brandy. She's a very strong and powerful gymnast. That was a reverse hex. She got very high off the bar, but she just peeled off. Didn't quite get her hands on the bar.
But did you notice, Peter, the athletic skill with which she fell and bounced right back up again? It almost looked as though it were part of the routine.
Well, you have to be prepared for things like that. You don't want it to happen, but when it does, you got to break your fall somehow. Beautiful double back dismount.
Indeed. Brandy Johnson from Tallahassee, Florida. And Bella Karolyi right there.
Now, you've seen the American style of uneven bars. We would like to show you the...
This is her error. That's a reverse hecht over the bar. She came down to catch it, but her fingertips were probably just at the very tip of the bar. She needed to get the whole palm of the hand on top of that big piece of wood there.
Champion has come from 10,000 miles to join us. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Paulette Huntanova.
Paulette Huntanova. Something special. I don't have much on this performer. Let me check my notes. See if I can find something on Paulette Huntanova. Oh, yes, here I have it. Out of Murray, Utah, Paulette.
That's right. It's actually Paul Hunt, who has a gymnastics club up in Utah, and he's probably the best gymnastics comic in the world. Now he or she is setting his bar.
A couple of whistles from out of the crowd caught Paulette's attention. And now the crowd slowly realizing that Paul Hunt is more than just another pretty face on the uneven bars.
Here he goes.
Can you imagine the hours of practice he put in learning to do that routine? He looks almost helpless and trapped up there, didn't he? Paul Hunt. He'll be back. Oh, what a magnificent comedy routine.
I've seen him do that routine quite a few times.
He'll probably go change his tutu and be back with another performance.
It's just as funny every time I see this. You know, I have to be honest with you, he is going to change his leotard after this performance. I could talk about that landing, but I just don't know what to say.
Let's go to the balance beam, and Natalia Frolova, 17 years old, from the Soviet Union.
Now we're going to go a little bit more serious here. This is going to be a beautiful performance.
National championship. Russian national champion.
And you know what's nice about this exhibition format is that you notice that there's music being played with the balance beam routine. That's not done in competition. Only on floor exercise do you hear music, but it adds a nice touch to it. Beautiful back handspring, back layout, step out. Look how high she gets off the beam in her leaps. It's so easy for the girls to hesitate, not go all out when they do those leaps, because you get so high up there on the way down, you don't want to miss that beam.
Well, you'd think the tendency would be to keep a foot as close to that beam as possible, Peter.
Absolutely.
Only 4 inches across.
Yep. And the way that they learn many of these skills is they might learn it by doing a skill on a balance beam that's right off the ground, maybe just about an inch off the ground. And then they do it high up. And it doesn't matter how many times you do it in the ground, when you do it up on top for the very first time, you get those butterflies.
I'm sure. It's probably quite a trick just to convince yourself that you're really just about 3 inches off the ground when you're 4 feet in the air, or 5.
And here's her dismount. Round off, double backflip. Very good.
Natalia Frolova. All right, we'll be back with more of this gymnastics summit. His 9th visit to the United States, Vladimir Artemov, whose favorite city is Disneyland. I think we alluded to the fact that several of the Russian gymnasts think Disneyland, USA, is the greatest city in this country. And well, it might be. I certainly wouldn't want to argue with him. He's 23, 5'7".
Every single year.
I am so impressed with him because his gymnastics is, I believe, technically perfect most of the time. And so when he does a skill, even though it's extremely difficult, he just makes it look so easy. And you almost tend to just sit back and say, boy, I guess that just wasn't that hard. And yet everything he's doing is extremely difficult.
Recently, he racked up 2 gold medals, a silver medal, and a bronze.
He's a very, very friendly gymnast. I've competed against him before, and now I see him all the time when he comes to the States for competitions. And just a nice person.
Artemov on the rings. say that technically he's as good as anybody?
Absolutely, no question. That's a kip to an iron cross. Beautiful toe point. He's got perfect form. His body line is nice and straight. That's a whip it, swing to a handstand. This is called an inverted cross, an upside down iron cross. Another whip it. A little dip there as he tried to catch in the L. Ready for his dismount here. First, a back up rise. Extremely straight as he goes right up to a handstand. Giant dislocate, double layout. Little hop there in the end, but it's just a very, very good routine.
Vladimir Artemov from the Soviet Union. One of the best in the world. Here's another look at his dismount.
This is a double layout, double backflip with his body straight, a giant dislocate to wind up, and zeroes in on the ground. Laying a little bit straight-legged, so he had to take that hop.
Novel floor exercise routine, which made her the 1986 Junior Soviet champion. At our
We turn next to Svetlana Boginskaya. She's 15 years of age. This is her second appearance in USSR USA gymnastics competition or exhibition.
And she mounts with a round off back handspring, full twisting double backflip. Look how flexible she is, how light on her feet.
And in perfect step with the music, Peter, as well. Huh? Every move, every gesture.
You'll probably start to hear the crowd clapping along in rhythm with their layout. 1.5 twist step out into a round off back handspring double full. Double back flip, pardon me, a layout with a double twist. Beautiful turn. Now that's a required element.
Another of the overnight sensations. She's been doing this for 9 years.
Yeah.
Started when she was 6. She's 15.
Flip step out, round off back handspring, a layout with 2 twists, double full. Call it.
Svetlana Boginskaya. 15 years of age.
Our next Soviet
Let's see here again.
is a man of many dimensions.
Alexei Tikhonkikh is the next man up.
He is also
Floor
a
exercises.
poet, a musician, and a father of a 4-year-old son. He was a member of the gold medal team at the Goodwill Games in 1986. He won our 1986 American Cup and the International Mixed Pairs Championship that year.
He
and in his 3 trips
likes reading and listening to hard rock music, speaks English. He's from Siberia.
Mr. Alexei Tikhonkikh.
Tikhonkikh is the way he pronounces his name. It's spelled Tikhonkikh.
He's a bit of a rebel. That was a pike straddle side, 1 3/4 dive roll. He was
national Russian team member since '83.
That's right. He was their alternate in the dual meet, and so he didn't compete, and yet his gymnastics is as good as any other member of the team. Very reliable performer, but they just chose not to put him in this time and let a younger guy go.
They say that his routine on the high bar is something to see.
Oh, it's great. It's just really exciting. There's a round off, back layout, half twist, round off, layout, double twist. Little bounce there. Full twisting side flip. Looks like he's rushing his routine a little bit. Now for his dismount. It's round off, back handspring, double back flip.
Mr.
Alexei Tikhonkikh from the Soviet Union. Back with more of the Russian. High bar. He's from UCLA. 5'4". Originally from New York City.
Curtis is certainly one of the most consistent gymnasts we have on the U.S. team. He rarely ever misses a routine. There was a beautiful one-arm giant sequence into a one-arm dinger, simply similar to what Shevchenko just did. Now watch this trick. This is a stoop into a full twisting Takemoto on one arm.
You want to say
Very,
that
very
again?
difficult. It's called a full twisting Takemoto, named after a Japanese gymnast, Takemoto, who did that with 2 arms years and years ago. And here's Curtis's dismount, a double layout. Well, that was close to the bar. Wow. He almost caught his toes on that bar.
I've got to believe, performing here at Pauley, he might have put just a little extra effort into that. They're beautifully done. Beautifully
Oh, you bet.
Curtis Holdsworth. We turn now to a young lady, Shelley Stack. Shelley is another diminutive miss, 4'7", 72 pounds.
She's 14 and been in gymnastics a total of 8 years now. Please welcome national team member Shelley Stack.
Shelley Stack.
Shelley really came on strong at the American Cup, which is the most prestigious international gymnastics event that we host in this country. She placed 3rd. And did an incredible job. She's so young. She's got a great future in store for her.
Here she is with the floor exercise, although she says her favorite are the bars.
Well, watch this routine, though. The music is just great. Round off back handspring, layout double full, into 3 flip-flops into a double back flip.
Did the crowd like it?
Oh, this is great. Now, she did all of those tumbling skills on one dial. It would take me about 3 floor exercise mats to do that. She's so tiny.
Well, she went corner to corner, Peter. She used up every bit of it.
And the crowd they just love this music.
And she's only 14, ladies and gentlemen.
Another tumbling pass. Round off, back handspring, double back flip, little stumble forward there. You know, I just get tired watching this routine. She never stops. You do see some women's routines where they have some sort of a slow transition in between. She just keeps going. Here's her dismount, just a pike back salto. That's a very simple skill relative to the other skills performance. She wouldn't do that in competition.
Shelley Stack, and the crowd loved it.
She just wanted to wow the crowd there, and that was great.
14 years of age. Watch her again.
Okay, here's a round off, back handspring layout with 2 twists, right into another back handspring, another back handspring, 3 back handsprings there, into a double back salto. That is, that's a lot of tumbling in one tumbling pass.
Serve notice on the world question to be remembered. Because in that competition,
this is Dmitry Bilozerchev.
of the men's events, having just turned 16.
He suffered a broken leg
For the second time,
back in 1985. His leg was shattered in 42 places. And it may be a testament to modern medical science, because it was first thought that the leg would have to be amputated.
Well, the way that this injury happened was unfortunate. He was drinking too much, and he drove his father's car into a tree, and that's how he got this injury and almost ruined his career.
Must have been the biggest tree in Russia.
Oh, yeah.
42 breaks in the leg.
Now, he's fabulous in pommel horse. Watch this flare work. Another one of these spindled flares going in the other direction, similar to what Kevin Davis did. He's just a master on pommel horse.
And that high leg routine, Peter, catches the fancy of the crowd as well, doesn't it?
Oh, you bet. They just love flares. I think kids love flares because it looks like breakdancing.
Amen. Dmitry Bilozerchev from the Soviet Union.
He still favors that leg.
Beautiful performance.
Yes, as you see him walk back toward the dressing room, it looks as though he might just have a slight limp.
And yet he still does these incredible tumbling skills. He limps onto the floor, does a great floor routine, and limps off. It's just amazing.
20 years of age. There he goes again. Next to Oksana Omelianchik.
And she's a real crowd pleaser. Tiny little gymnast. Beautiful Delchev into a backflip down to the low bar. Now, she missed this in the dual meet, but she did just great just there. A free hip circle and a layout double twist. Good routine.
She's 18, this young Russian gymnast. 4'10", 78 pounds, pure dynamite. Now a very special exhibition. The West Coast Waves, a rhythmic gymnastics team. They're based in Palos Verdes, Florida, California, excuse me, coached by Jolie Beretta and Sandy Conley. This group had two of its members on the USA Junior National team at the recent USA National Championships.
And this sport is a new sport in international competition for many USA athletes. A lot of gymnasts that get involved in artistic gymnastics, which is our sport or my sport, tend to make a transition into rhythmic gymnastics. And it's an interesting sport. It's incredibly difficult. It's an Olympic sport. It was competed for medals for the first time here in Pauley Pavilion in 1984 at the Games. And now, because group exhibitions became so popular, now they have group medals for group performances.
In addition to the balls, there's also hoops they use as well.
That's right. They have a hoop, and I'm sure they don't appreciate this, but we probably most identified that with something that looks like a hula hoop.
Yep.
But they do something much more artistic with it. And they also have a rope. They have clubs, 2 clubs that they use. And they also have what I think is the most beautiful part of it, the ribbon. And yet they only compete 4 of those events at a time. So, for example, this year, they may not be competing with the hoop, and they might be using the ball, the clubs, and the ribbon, and the rope. But then the next year they'll leave out the rope. It's a very different in the way that they treat their sport in competition.
Again, this is the West Coast Waves, a rhythmic gymnastics team from Palos Verdes.
And this is a sport that's taking off in our country.
Peter.
And here come the ribbons. I really like this part of rhythmic gymnastics. I think it's so beautiful.
So does the crowd.
I've actually seen performances where the ribbons are painted with fluorescent paint, and they turn the lights off and put black lights on it. It's just incredible.
Halftime at the Super Bowl, huh? Members of the West Coast Waves rhythmic gymnastics team. Jolie Beretta and Sandy Conley are their coaches. We'll be back with more of the competition between, or the exhibition between the Russians and the United States, but first we'll pause for this message. We're at Pauley Pavilion, the scene of the USA-USSR Gymnastics Summit. Vidal Sassoon bringing it to you on Prime Ticket. And the young lady you heard from a few moments ago that thrilled and delighted the crowd here today almost as much as she did back in 1984 when she was the darling of the gymnastics world. Mary Lou Retton is now with Peter Vidmar, and let's find out up close what's happening in the life of Mary Lou. Let's go to Peter.
Mary Lou, you're back at the scene of the crime, and you got another standing ovation. How did it feel?
It felt wonderful, Peter. I think, as you know, it brings back memories of 4 years ago, which seems just like yesterday to me.
Oh, it sure does. I have to thank you. I was sitting next to Linda Evans when you landed that vault and scored a perfect 10, so it made it just that much more enjoyable. Now, I want you to, we want to know, what have you been doing as of recent? Because, of course, everybody has seen you with the commercials and all the other activities. What are your plans right now for the immediate future?
Right now, I'm really concentrating on my broadcasting. I'm going to be commentating the Olympics for NBC. In fact, just returned from Seoul just yesterday. Went over, did some publicity there, and really looked at all the Olympic venues. Everything is looking wonderful for the games.
How would you assess USA Gymnastics right now, both the men and especially the women?
I really feel that we have relatively young teams right now. I think we're on the road to a good upstanding performance at the Olympic Games. We had a little downfall at World Championships, but I think that really put us in our spot, and we're working hard right now.
Well, Mary Lou, you've done so much for USA Gymnastics, more than I think you'll ever realize, and everybody wishes you all the best in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tom?
All right, thank you. Peter Vidmar visiting with Mary Lou Retton, and we'll be back with more of this gymnastics summit from Pauley Pavilion. But first, we'll pause for this important message. A USSR Gymnastics Summit. I'm Tom Kelly, and the gentleman providing the expertise on our telecast is Peter Vidmar. And Peter is presently, or in a moment or two, will be introduced to the crowd here at Pauley Pavilion. He is, of course, the captain of the '84 gymnastics team, gold medal winner.
Kelly with our Prime Ticket Network coverage at our announced position, the great
Peter Vidmar. There's Peter. Stands, waves to the crowd. Across the way, Dick Enberg.
Our show
waving at Peter.
The recent high school graduate. Our next
Wave at Dick Enberg, Peter. There he is.
I am. There he is.
Enjoys listening to music and ice cream, too. She's a consistent power on the Soviet national team for the past 3 years.
We continue with the competition.
Our show, the beautiful
and we start with Natalia Frolova. There's Dick Enberg. And Bart Connor next to him. You saw Natalia earlier doing a routine on the balance beam, and now here she is with a floor exercise.
I'll listen to this music.
Yeah.
Dragnet. Here's a round off back handspring, full twisting double backflip. Very powerful gymnast.
She's 17 and even 5 feet and 90 pounds of dynamite.
Now, this is a little different. This is not as balletic as some of the other gymnasts from the Soviet Union. The music's different, the beat's different, so as a result, she performs it a lot differently, much more jazz. Oh, she threw a triple twist and landed on her side. That's potentially a dangerous landing. She seems fine.
She has one of her ankles wrapped, the other one not, and the one she landed wrong on was the unwrapped one a moment ago.
Yeah, it's sometimes that wrap, she has basically a very tight elastic bandage, which really does very little in terms of support, but it's kind of a psychological thing. Setting up for her final tumbling pass. A round off back handspring, double back, little step forward.
And a dramatic finish to it all. A floor exercise, Natalia Frolova from the Soviet Union.
Let's see this little slip on that second tumbling pass. She does a round off, back handspring, whip over, back handspring, and then she tries a layout with 3 twists. And she comes around that third twist and lands just right on her side. She didn't even come close to making it, and that's why she stumbled.
And now the introduction of Don Peters, the Olympic coach for 1988.
Don coached the team to the silver medal back in '84.
And we go to the uneven bars now, and the appearance of Do Yamashiro. She's from Torrance, California. 5'2", 18-year-old gymnast, 105 pounds. And she's been in gymnastics for the past 4 years.
And she trains under Don at the Scats Gymnastics Club, where Don, of course, is the head coach. She's very powerful in the uneven bars. And look at Don standing there, ready to catch her if something should ever happen. That's a front flip. She catches it fine, right over to the low bar. Straddle up. Here's where the similar skills that you'd see in horizontal bar. There's a Tikhonkikh, the reverse hecht. Giant. Double back salto. Step forward, but it was a very good and powerful routine.
Very nice routine. Do Yamashiro from Torrance, California. Second all-round in the American Classic.
Take a look at that dismount. She does a double back salto. Giant, and here, she underrotates a little bit, opens up just a little bit too soon. If she would have kept her knees in, she'd be a little bit more even, but she took that step. It's still a good dismount.
So from Do Yamashiro, Paulette Huntanova. A change of 2-2.
You know, I noticed a change in Paulette, though. Paulette has shaved her mustache.
May have to shave her chest if she's going to continue. Strikes a pose and goes to the balance beam. This is, of course, Paul Hunt, whose gymnastic routines. How beautiful.
Here we go.
With trepidation, he climbed aboard the balance beam. And his tutu has a smile for everybody.
He used to have one that said "Mom" on it. When he kicked up to a handstand, it said "Wow." Oh!
Oh. Don't hurt yourself, Paula.
You know, it's a comedy routine, but his gymnastics is really pretty good here.
It's tremendous. When you think of how hard he has to work to look bad, it's amazing, and he's magnificent.
That's a very good handstand. A little stuck there, though. Well, even the Soviets will like this.
That's tremendous.
Look at him, he's chewing gum.
Sure. And I love the ribbon in the hair. Beautiful. Paulette Huntanova, better known as Paul Hunt.
See, now he's Huntanova for the sake of this competition. When we compete with the Romanians, he becomes Paulette Huntaskew. So we just changed the name. Now watch this. This is a serious gymnastics skill. And he made it.
And he bows.
Made famous by Olga Korbut. Now look at, he stubbed his toe, though, so he's got to be a little careful when he walks. They got to put that foot there in the beam to stand up. Oh, he's a little bit too far off to the side, though. Can't quite get it down.
Beautiful.
Now, flexibility is a very, very important part of gymnastics, and so Paul wants to display that to everyone now.
I tell you, he's worked that beam from one end to the other, Peter. Beautiful. Paul Hunt. What a magnificent comedy routine. Beautifully done. He's out of Murray, Utah. And of considerable gymnastic skill to be able to pull off.
I went down to give an exhibition in Sydney, Australia, and Paul went down with me, and we were the two gymnasts invited to give the show. And he just wowed the crowd down there as much as he did here. They just loved it.
Here's Igor Korobchinsky from the Ukraine.
Igor Korobchinsky.
He's back in the United States for a second visit. Says he likes everything. Likes the style of life over here. Floor exercise.
He's one of their new top talents. This is the first we've seen of him today. It was a front flip step out, round off back handspring, double tuck. Not a very difficult mount. He can do a lot harder at times. But he just wants to put together a good crowd pleaser here. And look at this. These are flares right up to a handstand, back down into flares. And then he turns the other way, a spindled flare. Extremely difficult. Boy, they love that.
You know, it says his favorite event, Peter, is the pommel horse, and that was almost a pommel horse routine with no horse under it.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, of course, that skill was first done on pommel horse. And he does the flare on pommel horse as good as anyone in the world. That's a pike straddle side 1 3/4 dive roll.
Big elevation. He was really up in the air on that.
Way up there. You've got to be.
He's 18, Igor Korobchinsky.
He's got a good future ahead of him. Here's his dismount, a round off back handspring, double tuck dismount.
For the Soviet Union, Igor Korobchinsky, 18 years old, with a very fine, crowd-pleasing floor exercise. Watch it again.
Okay, now this flare sequence is really exciting. This is a flare, first on an international competition by Kurt Thomas of the USA, but he goes up to a handstand, to a straddled pirouette, and he drops his leg right back down and continues on with the flare. But then he starts turning in the opposite direction. It's just incredible.
Push to the limit, speed, difficulty, control. Words to describe one of the world's best. Here is the Soviet Union's Yelena Shevchenko.
And here's your giant sequence. Straddles up to the high bar. Most of the skills, as I said lately, have been done on that top bar, just like the men would do on horizontal bar. Double back dismount. Good routine.
Yelena Shevchenko. Another member of the Soviet gymnastics team coming up, Alexei Tikhonkikh. He's a young man from Siberia.
When he returned this past week, he had learned our language in just 1 year.
Speaks English. You saw him on the floor exercises earlier, and now he'll work on the parallel bars.
Alexei Tikhonkikh.
From Siberia.
He must spend a lot of time in the gym out from the cold, though, because he's a great gymnast. Beautiful front toss. Good, beautiful straight body line. Nice stutz. Peach to a straddle cut to an L. Here's his press to a handstand.
My information, Peter, says that he was the first guy to do a round-off entry. The move was disallowed because it was thought to be too dangerous. Is that correct?
That's right. We will see the girls in vaulting do what we call a round-off entry vault. And they do a round-off onto the board, facing backwards, and do a skill off the horse. We'll describe that later. He did that in men's gymnastics. But the vault is set up in a different way so that you vault the long ways. And so to place your hands is very difficult. And they said, that's just too dangerous. We're going to ban that. And so they have for now. And so as a result, they're going to change the configuration of the horse. In a few years, we're going to have a completely different piece of apparatus.
That's Alexei Tikhonkikh from Russia, from Siberia. We go to Hope Spivey now, member of the United States gymnastics team. She's 16, lives in Allentown, Pennsylvania, originally from Suffolk, Virginia. Floor exercise, Hope Spivey.
Now, we have certain gymnastics programs that have consistently put out some top gymnasts in the women's area, and the Scats, of course, at Huntington Beach is strong. Don Peters coaches there. We have Bella Caroli's club in Houston, and Hope comes from a club called the Parkettes in Allentown, Pennsylvania, that has put just time after time, they've put top girls on our national team. Hope's a very strong gymnast. This is a round off back handspring, full twisting double back.
Again, the lift on that, Peter's amazing.
Oh, it is. Here's tumbling off her knees. Hope has boundless energy. Here's a round off back handspring, double back. She's a real hopeful for 1988. Has a great chance of making the team.
She's 16 years of age and has been in gymnastics for 8 years.
Music from Cats. Their final tumbling pass. Round off back handspring. Another double back flip. That's difficult to do at the end.
Hope Spivey from Allentown, Pennsylvania. We'll be back with more of this exhibition between the Russians and the United States gymnasts. But Pause for this important message. Now, the introduction of a teammate of yours, Peter, from '84, Bart Connor, who I guess is the most bedecked or bemedaled gymnast in the history of the United States.
That's right.
And a man of many talents, I guess. Movies, writing.
Bart's career has spanned over 3 Olympic Games. He competed in '76 and in '84. He was on the '80 team. Bart's going to do a little intro now for horizontal bar.
We thought we'd have a little fun with our next performance. We're going over to the high bar, and we're going to bring out 10 of the world's best high bar performers to do some spectacular dismounts for you. But what we thought we'd do before that is take this opportunity to give thanks to a gentleman who's done a great deal for our sport, certainly the best announcer in the business, Jan Clare. Thank you, Jan. Let's bring on the 10 best high bar performers in the world for a high bar dismount demonstration. Come on out, guys.
Well, here they come, members of the United States and Soviet teams.
This is going to be fun. This is something you don't see in competition. This is just going to be a little bit of a dismount contest.
Now, as you all know, the high bar is certainly one of the most spectacular of the men's events. And probably the most exciting aspect of that event is the dismount. Now, for the gymnast, it's not only thrilling and spectacular, but it's also one of the most fun things to do in practice. So we thought you might like to sit back and enjoy some of the top high bar performers in the world as they demonstrate and show off a little bit of the most exciting dismounts being done in the world of gymnastics today. First of all, we have Scott Johnson, U.S. national champion. Nice high layout flyaway.
That was pretty basic, was it, Peter?
Oh, that's very basic. But what they're doing is they're building. They're going to show just some basic movements, and believe me, they're going to do a lot more than a layout. See, we just saw a layout, now a layout with a full twist, and they're going to progress on to more difficult skills.
Next up is Wes Suter from the University of Nebraska, NCAA champion. One-arm giant swings. And a high layout tuck flyaway.
This is just the beginning. Here's John Amori.
This is John Amori.
Double backflip, of course, is much more complicated than a single
next guy from the Valley is definitely the madman of U.S. gymnastics.
Here's Charles Legs. This guy's crazy. That's what everybody says, because he just goes so high. Look at that, double layout.
Layout, flyaway.
Charles is a great gymnast. Certainly a top candidate for 1988. And here's Yuri Korolia.
And from the Soviet Union, Yuri Korolia. Not only a great gymnast, but a father of 2. There's a hat.
Now that heck dismount was the compulsory dismount in 1984. We all had to do that at the end of the compulsory routine.
This is Vladimir Artemov.
Artemov. Just a very simple
nice
layout
high,
with a
flyaway with a full. That is the dismount that the gymnasts will be using in the compulsory exercises in the Olympic Games coming up in Seoul. Vladimir Novikov, a flyaway.
See, we're just seeing the simple ones now, but Tom, in just a few moments, you're going to see the guys just pull out all stops, and they're going to go for it.
This young gymnast is Igor Korobchinsky. Beautiful flyaway full.
I guarantee you that we're going to see some triple backflips before the end of this little exhibition here. Guaranteed. this man might be one of the ones that can do it. He can do just about any dismount in the book.
Up for some more exciting dismounts. How about that?
Oh, that was great.
Tuck open, double flyaway.
Here goes Scotty Johnson now. We'll see what Scott does.
This is Scott Johnson going to perform his optional dismount, laid out double flyaway.
Scott's going to do a double layout. It's a double backflip with his body straight.
Scott Johnson.
Very, very good.
Beautiful.
And now Mike Rice.
And now to perform the same dismount, my Oklahoma teammate Mike Rice.
Another double layout.
Double flyaway.
Notice how they're using the music from Stuntman.
Now, as you can see, the gymnasts are starting with basic dismounts and starting to build up to the more difficult. Wes Suter, triple flyaway.
Oh, triple backflip. Boy, that was so high, it got a little bit too much rotation.
That was more like 3.5. This is John Amori, and his optional dismount is a double back, but catch this, he'll be doing 2 twists in the middle of this double back.
And there's a lot of flipping and a lot of twisting in this one. Just incredible.
Boy.
John Amori. Now this is starting to get good. What do you think? Now Charles never performs until he gets a little encouragement, so help him along a little bit. Charles Lakes! Woo!
That was a triple backflip again from Charles Lakes. This is going to be fun.
He was into the second balcony, Peter.
I mentioned Yuri Korolia is a father of 2. He has a 4-year-old boy named Alexei and a 1-year-old girl named Yelena.
Here's Korolev dismount, a double layout with a full twist on the second flip. And he always lands it perfectly every time.
Not a bobble, not a mistake.
Never. He's been doing that same dismount for about 8 years now.
Once again, this is Vladimir Novikov. Triple back.
That's Novikov. He's only 17 years old. Little one-arm action from Vladimir Artemov. Now let's see his dismount.
Artemov, layout double back.
Beautiful. Peter, let me ask you, if these are the best gymnasts in the world, the Russians, are there some that may be on the team that we aren't seeing here? Or is this their...
This is Igor Korobchinsky.
This is their A team. I know one of their top gymnasts, Vladimir Mogilny.
1, 2, 3.
Beautiful triple again. Vladimir Mogilny, who's one of their top gymnasts, is injured, and so he's not here. There's a handful of gymnasts that still have a chance to make that Soviet team, but we're looking at the top guns right now. Tikhonkikh, he can really swing on high bar. Let's see what he does now. Oh, beautiful. That was a double layout with a double twist. Simple layout in the first flip, but a double twisting back layout in the second. Just incredible.
How about a fine hand
collects a few high fives from the rest of the high bars as they salute the crowd, and in turn, I salute it. That's a fine exhibition. Beautiful. Beautiful. And Bart Connor did the emceeing chores across the way. All right, we continue now with this exhibition, and we go to the balance beam. You saw her on the floor exercises. This is Svetlana Boginskaya, 15 years old, on the balance beam. First time around you saw her with the floor exercise.
back handsprings in a row. Very difficult. You know, if you're off on the first one, there's no way you're going to make the second and third one. And you just have to stay right on target for each one of those skills. Little front handspring. There's a good look at a beam that's only 4 inches wide. Back layout. That was right on target. You think she was doing that on the floor. Just incredible.
The concentration level must be enormous.
Oh, especially on something like balance beam. You just can't afford to be off at all.
Beautiful dismount. Svetlana Boginskaya, 15 years old. More gymnastics exhibition coming your way. And welcome back to Pauley Pavilion and the Gymnastics Summit. USA, USSR, now another rhythmic group. This is the LA School of Gymnastics. They have prepared some 10 national champions, 6 junior national champs, the 2 Olympic team members among the girls performing today, 3 national champion Marina Kunievsky, national team members Alexandra Feldman, Irina Rubinstein, South Korean champion Sung Hee Hong. 4 of the girls from this group have qualified for the '88 Olympic trials, and they're coached by Olympic coach Alice Fursky. Rhythmic gymnastics.
This team is also known as the LA Lights, and they have consistently put the top rhythmic gymnasts in the country on the national team. Once again, this is an Olympic sport now, and you can see how it's really going to catch on. The Eastern Europeans have dominated, especially the Bulgarians. They're just way on top of everyone. But we've got a lot of high hopes for our girls here in the United States.
Behind the rest of the world, or the Bulgarians, are we, Peter?
Well, the Bulgarians, it's amazing. They've clearly dominated in world competition. And while the scores, of course, are as high as they are in international competition in artistic gymnastics, the Bulgarians seem to consistently come out with the 9.9s, the 10.0s. Just incredible. And now with the hoops, it's amazing what they can do. Now this is the rope, another one of the events. Now the competition is held on a floor exercise mat of this size. So instead of seeing gymnastics equipment surrounding a floor exercise mat in rhythmic competition, you might see a large arena floor like this with 3 separate floor exercise mats. And competitions taking place on each one of those mats simultaneously. From LA Lights always seem to have the most creative leotards I've seen also in the sport.
It's almost like watching a circus, Peter. There's something going on. You think you're watching a three-ring affair.
That's just incredible.
The LA Lights. Rhythmic Gymnastics. Beautifully done.
In our golden circle, we would like to introduce to you another member of the 1984 silver medal Olympic team.
Of the 1984 gymnastics team.
As a student and undergraduate assistant gymnastics coach, originally from Scats Gymnastics of Huntington Beach, Michelle Dusser.
Michelle. There she is.
Michelle was the youngest gymnast, pardon me, she was the youngest athlete of any sport to compete in the 1984 Olympics. She was 14 years old.
Making his second trip to the USA.
And now we return to the exhibition, and we're going over to the still rings. Valery Lyukin,
he's from Kazakhstan and
21 years of age.
Valery Lyukin.
And Lyukin is the gymnast that everybody looks at for the big tricks because he can really pack a routine with difficulty. He just doesn't have a weakness. It's a back kip right to a planche. It's a strength skill. Now, on rings, you have about 40% strength, about 60% swing. Just an iron cross there. Here's an L. Now he presses to a handstand. That's a planche press to a handstand. One of the most difficult presses you can do in our sport.
Peter, that iron cross looks like it is the most physically taxing thing anybody could do. Is it? Is it as difficult as it looks?
I'll be honest with you, Tom. The level of difficulty is ranked in 4 categories, from A to D. A being easiest. Nice full twisting layout dismount. An easy dismount, but the category goes from A to D. D, of course, being the super difficult. B is intermediate. An iron cross is B difficulty. B. Intermediate difficulty. So to get D difficulty, you probably have to do something like an inverted cross, like I showed you earlier, and then press out of it back up to a handstand. It's just so difficult to get that final superior level of difficulty.
We go to the high bar now, and this is Dan Hayden from Buffalo, New York, 23-year-old gymnast in the United States. He has a twin brother, Dennis.
Dan is just so exciting on the horizontal bar. Very unusual dismount that takes him over the bar. Not on the same side. He'll let go and he'll fly up over the bar. Let go a lot later than someone else normally would in a standard horizontal bar dismount. Here's a Stalder.
This is a very easy thing to do. He has suffered, among other injuries, crushed vertebrae, a broken leg, and a back fracture.
Yeah, Dan has had an unusually difficult career when it comes to injuries. He's had quite a few. He has a twin brother, Dennis, who is just as good a gymnast as Dan is, who's had a lot of other problems too. It seems when one is healthy, the other one is injured, and vice versa. That was a good dismount.
Probably would not come as a surprise to you then to find out that he wants to pursue a career in sports medicine. He probably feels very qualified.
Yeah.
You know, crushed vertebrae, broken leg, and a back fracture. I would say he's well on his way.
You bet.
He got his own dictionary. Natalia Laschenova.
Miss Natalia Laschenova.
You saw her on the balance beam earlier. This diminutive young Russian lass, 4'7". Now she'll do a floor exercise for you.
And she's a joy to watch.
She just sparkles, doesn't she? The facial expressions are tremendous.
Beautiful full twisting double back. So light on her feet. Oh. Whip back, flip-flop, double back. What amazes me is she's so small. She just doesn't cover that much area running down that diagonal.
Which brings me to the question, is her size a hindrance or a good thing for her?
No, it's definitely a big plus, I think, because she has so much more area to cover. She's got a lot of energy. That size gives her a very high strength-to-weight ratio, which is probably the most critical aspect of gymnastics strength.
Well, I may be wrong, Peter, but it appears that she gets up in the air almost twice her at least once again as tall as she is.
Oh, no question, no question. Now let's talk about the floor now. The floor itself has 4-inch coiled springs underneath it. So we'd like to brag and say it's just the gymnast.
Yes.
But it's also the equipment, which helps to give them a little bit extra bounce. But
Natalia Laschenova was the young lady you just watched with that floor exercise. We go to another member of the Russian team, Vladimir Novikov. You saw him with the high bar. He's now going to perform on the parallel bars.
Let's not forget that he's only 17, which is just so young for a male gymnast at this level of competition. Giant
and yet
cast.
at 17, he's been a gymnast or in gymnastics for 10 years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Beautiful front run on a quarter. That's a Healy twirl. Pirouette. A Stutz right to a handstand. A back toss to a handstand, another back toss, and now for a dismount, a double pike. Very, very good routine. He's got a great future. He's only 17.
The second trip to the United States.
Our next performer won the gold medal.
We'll take a look at that dismount now. This is his back toss.
And she placed 4th in the all-around and won the
And a double pike, double back in the pike position. Takes a little bit of a hop at the end. That's a very tough dismount.
Now to the uneven bars.
One thing to her routine. She'll be performing to the official
and
theme of the U.S. Gymnastics team.
Is
an instrumental entitled To Rise Above, composed by
Marlowe.
Los Angeles songwriter James Patrick Dunn. Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Marlowe.
She was born in Belgium. Currently lives in Salt Lake City. She's 16 and 4'11".
Missy comes from Salt Lake, which is the host to the 1988 Olympic Gymnastics trials coming up in August. Very, very good on bars. It's a reverse hecht. Cast up to a handstand. There's her giant. Another giant. And now for a dismount. It's a Comaneci dismount.
Melissa Marlowe. The coach, Bella Korolia, told me that there probably aren't any surprises out there, that the people we're seeing here basically are our best and will comprise our Olympic team. Is that a fair assumption, Peter?
Oh, I think it is. You have a handful of gymnasts that are out there that are training very hard for the 1988 trials, that are going to be there, that have a solid chance of making the team. But these gymnasts are here simply because they're the best right now.
Another member of the 84 Olympic team. And still another on the team trying to repeat again would be Scott Johnson coming up.
That's right.
Scott will be performing on the rings out of Lincoln, Nebraska. He's 26.
By scoring 116.25 in the last games last summer.
Scott's certainly one of our best hopes right now in 1988. He's improved. He was such a backbone for our team in 1984. I think that Scott was the unheralded hero of our team.
Gold medalist Scott Johnson.
Scott was our leadoff man in many of the events, which meant he went up first, and it's tough to get a good score when you're the first guy up at times. And yet he got great scores and then helped to build a strong foundation for the rest of the scores that the team got, which was really a significant factor in our winning the gold medal. He deserves a lot of credit for that gold.
Performing on the rings, which he indicates are his favorite.
And it ought to be. He's so powerful there. That was a kip to a flange, lower to an iron cross, kip L. Always steady on the rings.
Boy, hardly a waver, Peter. He's so solid, isn't he?
He's one of the most solid ring performers in the world, no question. Here's a giant right to a handstand. Another giant. That was a good save. He's a little bit off, and he had to save that right away. There's a backup rise. Now, Scott is one of the highest dismounts of anyone in the world. He really gets up there. He usually does a pike half and half out. Here's his wind-up, giant dislocate. Beautiful pike half and half out.
Beautiful performance by Scott Johnson, 84 Olympic gold medalist, and hoping to make the team again in 88. We'll be back with more from Pauley Pavilion right after this.
see on the parallel bars.
You know, Peter, I watched her warming up, and she was so intent and so serious just in warming up that I almost thought for a moment she was crying. She and the coach, one of the coaches.
Well, you know, this is just an exhibition, but they really do take it seriously. Every time they go out there on that floor, they're there to perform. This is an artistic sport. You don't just do the tricks. You do it well, you do it right, and you try to do it perfectly every time. And the Soviets place a lot of importance on perfecting those routines. It doesn't matter where they are. There's a beautiful back handspring, back layout.
Oh, magnificent. She's only 15. Can you imagine the pressure on someone that young?
They compete so much, though, that they really mature beyond their years. They're under that pressure. They're in the spotlight all the time. There's a round-off double backflip. Beautiful, beautiful routine.
Beautiful exhibition, no question about it. Olga Strazheva on the beam. 4 feet 7 inches of dynamite. Beautiful. Here she is again.
One-arm handstand.
One of our financial advisors, ladies and gentlemen, another member of our 1984.
And that's a heliotroll like the gymnast might do on the parallel bars, the male gymnast. That shows how the sport just overlaps all the time. Certain events that are done on floor are done on pommel horse, and certain events that are done on the balance beam might be done on the parallel bars. Just very, very unique.
Vladimir Artemov back with us now. We saw him on the rings in an earlier appearance, and now he'll be operating on the parallel bars.
Made another world championship last fall. Along with it, his very own gold
This is his 9th visit to the United States.
Mr. Vladimir Artemov.
And Disneyland is still his favorite city.
Well, he's going there.
His favorite food is spaghetti.
Good carbohydrate meal before competition. That was a beautiful peach basket to a handstand. Stutz hand. He just makes everything look so easy. He's a world champion on the parallel bars here. Press to a handstand. Here's a back toss, another back toss, and his dismount. Double pike. Beautiful.
Vladimir Artemov from the Soviet Union, a world champion.
We'll take a look at that dismount again. This is a back toss. Just a simple backflip in between the bars and a double pike. Look at him zero in on that ground. Perfect landing.
16-year-old member of the United States team. This is Rhonda Fain, working on the uneven bars. Coon Rapids, Minnesota, but she was or is a native of Minneapolis.
Beautiful reverse heck. Switches her grip, goes down to the low bar, kips up to the high bar. Giant.
16 years
full
of age.
turn over the top. Very difficult, especially at the end of the routine. And just a flyaway dismount. She didn't do her normal competitive dismount. The routine itself was very, very good, but she thought, well, let's just save it.
Well, the dismount just, there's Vidal Sassoon, just capped it off beautifully, though, Peter. Just
on the USA senior team 4 years.
She set it perfectly. We go back to Charlie Lakes now. Into the high bar. We saw him there with the high bars a few minutes ago in that special exhibition. Here's Charlie Lakes again.
And Charlie really knows how to take these flip catches up in the air. This is where you let go of the bar, do a flip, go way above the bar, and come back down to catch the bar. Here's his inverted giants. Here's his Stalder. There's a one-arm giant into a hop pirouette sequence. It's very difficult that Charlie invented. Here's a very high front somersault. Look how high above the bar he goes. And there's a beautiful reverse heck. Boy, Charlie isn't done because you saw him do a triple backflip in the competition. There's a double layout. Very versatile gymnast. That was just a great horizontal bar routine.
Beautiful exhibition by Charlie Lakes. There's got to be a high degree of potential danger in that when you let go of it. And,
Hey, I'll tell you, look at this. When you're coming down to catch that bar and you're way up there and the bar's not there, that's a real disappointment because that's about a 13-foot drop to your stomach. We don't like it when that happens.
I'm convinced of that.
And yet, the mats are safe. If you land flat on the floor, it's a safe landing. It doesn't hurt.
This is Miss Phoebe Mills up next with a floor exercise.
Phoebe Mills.
Northfield, Illinois, has a broken finger. You can see it taped together on her left hand.
That's right. Now, Phoebe did not compete at the USA-USSR dual meet. And so she's here just to give an exhibition. She did break her finger. She's the reigning American Cup champion. Really a very bright hope for 1988. See, now notice she's not really even putting that hand on the ground. This is just kind of a fun routine to the Munsters music, as well as others. This is mostly a dance routine. Split leaves. Notice how she's got to stay off that finger, though. Didn't touch that left hand there on the ground. Staying off that hand, though. It's so important that she get all healed up. The Olympics are not that far away.
Well, I'm sure that floor exercise floor has a lot to do with it, but her leaps are magnificent, Peter. What great elevation.
Well, now, a lot of that also is just that sheer power. It's deceiving.
No question about it. Miss Phoebe Mills, broken finger and all, 15 years of age, living in Houston, and the crowd just loved every moment of it. Now then, let's go to Peter and conversation with Miss Phoebe Mills. Peter?
Phoebe, of course, we all noticed that you were staying off that finger during that full floor routine, but it was great. You got the crowd going. What's wrong with your finger now, and how's it going to heal up?
Well, I was working out for this meet, and I broke it because I landed with it bent back. I broke the middle finger, but it shouldn't set me back too much.
Are you training hard?
Yeah, I'm training hard.
You getting ready for 88?
Sure am.
How's it going with Bella?
It's going really well with Bella. You know, he's just a great motivator, and he always, helps me to go out there and show him my best performance every time.
Well, that's great. You have a whole country pulling for you. We're really looking forward to some great things coming up.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
On floor exercise, the final appearance today of Paulette Hansanova.
Paulette Hansanova is back. Dazzled the crowd in 2 previous appearances. It is, of course, Paul Hunt, and he's a magnificent gymnast and quite a showman. Floor exercise this time.
And this is where he really, or she really shines, I guess. This is what gets the crowd going.
There are times when Hunt looks as though he is just totally surprised to find himself in a room this big full of this many people.
Here we go.
Can you imagine the skill?
Bad timing there.
Yeah, the skill it takes to do that trick and not come up.
That's right. And look at this one. Here we go. Paul's got a heck of a program up in Murray, Utah. He's got two little girls at home. Look at that. Flip-flops all the way around the floor exercise mat.
Magnificent.
A little dizzy, though.
Paul's 35. He's 5'2", weighs 140 pounds. In 1969, he was the Illinois all-round champion. Big Ten floor exercise champion in 71, national champion in 72.
Look at that. Oh, here goes his dismount.
What a magnificent performance.
His final appearance today.
Everybody likes it.
How could you not like it? He's magnificent.
It's just great. You know, we put on some shows with Paul as an Olympic team after the games, and there were many times where we got some very loud applause, but he was one of the few that got a standing ovation.
I can believe it. And at 35, that's got to be a lot of hard work. What a magnificent job. Back to this young lady from the Soviet Union, Oksana Omelianchik. She's 18. You saw her on the uneven bars a bit earlier, and now here she is on the balance beam.
She's one of their stars. Just so tiny and petite, but she's so precise in all of her dance and movements. The split lead was so high above the beam. Back handspring, back layout, step out. Just so precise. Everything you do is so deliberate. Oh, look at that. Split over the edge of the beam.
Before Olga Korbut, Peter, did anybody do this? It seems that Olga invented the balance beam.
And Olga Korbut did a backflip, which is what Paul Hunt did in his comedy routine. And they seriously thought about banning that trick.
Really?
And you can't even, girls don't even do backflips anymore. It just simply is not that difficult. Some of the youngest girls in gymnastics, their first year or two of the sport, will do backflips on the balance beam. It's just changed tremendously. It's light years ahead of what Olga Korbut was doing back in '72, but she started it off. She was the first one to really flip on balance beam. Here's your dismount, round off, layout with a double twist.
Magnificent. Omelianchik, Oksana, 18-year-old gymnast for the Soviet Union. And the crowd loves her.
Everybody cheers.
Next man up is a man who is making quite a comeback, or attempting to. Tim Daggett.
At the World Championships in Rotterdam, Tim literally shattered his leg, broke it in many places. He's had about 10 operations now, and he's still training. He does about 2.5 hours of therapy every day, and he trains another 5 hours a day for something that he realizes may not ever happen, and that's to make the Olympic team one more time. He's the bronze medalist on this event, the pommel horse. Back more up. Tim also happens to be my best friend. My 2.5-year-old son's named after him, actually. Beautiful flare work. There's this flare traveling across the horse. Tim's the king of flares in this country. Another flare right up to a handstand for his dismount. Great routine. Had to be a little soft in that landing because his leg is not completely healthy.
Boy, that's amazing. A brilliant routine from a man trying to make the Olympic team again, and you can see that there's a little limp as he moves along. And let's go to Peter Vidmar and to Tim Daggett and these special thoughts. Peter, take it away.
Tim, that was a great routine. How did it feel to perform in front of a crowd again?
Oh, fantastic. You know, it's a feeling of competition. That's why I'm doing gymnastics. That's why I continued after '84.
Now, we noticed that when you landed your dismount, it looked like you took a little bit of a wince. Did it hurt?
well, I was being very careful. You know, the other day I did a compulsory routine, and I told myself I was going to take a step for sure, just to be careful. And I really didn't want to have any problems here. It was good just to get out, feel the crowd, feel the enthusiasm, and not get hurt.
Well, you look great. We're really excited, and we know you've got so many people pulling for you that we're going to see some great things coming up, and hopefully you'll do it.
Thank you very much,
Good luck,
Peter.
Tim.
Thank you, Pete.
Tim Daggett, what a story in courage. And we wish him the very best in his quest for
Thank you very much. Our next
another gold medal.
competitor is
Mary
the
Lou Retton.
1985 world champion, the 1987 world champion on this event. And floor exercise is a place where the female gymnast can really make her mark. You can express your tumbling abilities as well as your dance abilities, and it gives us a chance to really express ourselves. I'm honored again to introduce and also to meet her again, who I've competed against many times, my friend from the beautiful city of Leningrad, Elena Shevchenko.
Elena Shevchenko. You saw her on the uneven bars earlier, and now this floor exercise.
She's the reigning 1987 world champion on this event. This is the best in the world. First tumbling. Very high double back salto.
I would imagine, Peter, when they nail that first one as well as she did, it just has to give them a great lift. They really get on with it.
Oh, it's incredible. It's that boost. You're so nervous because usually your most difficult tumbling pass is the first one. And when we make it through, I can remember landing one perfectly in competitions and then just getting all this extra energy to finish that routine. Really get you going. Round off back handspring. High straddle side, 1 3/4 dive roll. That's an event that very few women do. Tumbling off of her knees. This is just really great routine.
Elena is 18 years of age. She's 5 feet tall, weighs 90 pounds.
Her last tumbling pass. Round off back handspring. Just a layout. Not something that she would do in competition. Now, as you said, she hasn't been feeling well.
What an amazing...
But that was a great routine,
That's
though.
a
Just
great
exciting.
finish. And she gets up with a grin and a wave to the crowd. Elena Shevchenko, 18 years old from the Soviet Union, the best. Just the best. We continue with the exhibition between the Russians and the United States, and we go to the rings. And Yuri Korolia, world champion. You saw him before on the high bar and in that special exhibition. And now to the rings.
Frolova is, again, probably the greatest competitor I've ever seen in this decade in men's gymnastics. He just does not miss routines. If you're competing against him and you're hoping that he's going to give some points up so you have a chance to sneak ahead of him, it's just not going to happen.
He's 25, Peter. Is that the right age?
Well, it's a little bit old, but he just refuses to give up. I mean, he won this competition against the USA. He was the #1 Soviet gymnast in the dual meet. Scored a 59.4. That averages out to exactly a 9.9 average. That was a beautiful dismount. He did a full twisting double layout.
Back with more coverage. The Russians and the United... to continue our thought a moment on Yuri Korolia. At 25, he doesn't want to quit. There was a time he didn't want to get involved. He missed all kinds of practice sessions and everything as a young kid. There's Kathy Johnson from the '84 Olympic team.
Hello, everyone. As Mary Lou said earlier, being here in Pauley Pavilion bring back some wonderful and incredible memories. We're watching some of the finest gymnasts in the world. 4 years ago, my teammates and I did something that we will never, ever forget. It's forever etched in our minds and in our hearts. But time goes on, and gymnastics gets better and better, as you can see here today. So the next best thing to being there for me is having the pleasure of introducing the next young lady. She was a Pan American gold medalist, one-time national champion, and a teammate of mine at SCATS. And one of my dear friends, all my respect, please welcome on the floor exercise, Sabrina Marr.
Sabrina, 17, Huntington Beach.
Sabrina was the finest finisher for the USA in this dual meet series that we've had. She placed third all around and really looked very, very sharp. She's had some back problems in the past, and she's just handled it very well. She looks great for 1988. Round off back handspring, double back flip for a mount. Now a little Born in the USA music. She's really looking like she's in great shape. She's really going to be prepared, I think, for the Olympic trials and the meets that are coming up. And we look at all the talent here, and we see that I think that the women's team will be very, very strong going into the games.
The coach is Don Peters, who will be the coach of the United States Olympic team, and the crowd responds with a very warm round of applause for 17-year-old Sabrina Marr.
Sabrina Marr from SCATS.
Sabrina, you were the most consistent performer and the top performer for the USA for both men and women in the dual meet, and you look great here in the exhibition. How do you feel getting ready for 1988?
I feel great right now. I think I'm ahead of the schedule right now. I feel like I'm progressing very rapidly, and with this sort of practice mode, I'll be set in time for the Olympics.
What about your back? I know you've had problems with your back in the past. Is it bothering you now? Is it okay?
It has been recently. It was bad about 2 weeks before the competition, and I was undecided whether I was to compete or not. And fortunately, it got better the last week, so I just decided to come and throw the routines.
Bilozerchev of the Soviet Union now goes to the high bar.
The comeback kid, 1984 Olympian Tim
This is the guy
Daggett.
there's Tim Daggett, who's going to be Daggett with a bad leg is going to introduce a guy that broke 142 places.
UCLA, I never get here anymore. I'm usually here about 3 times a day. No, it really felt great to come out here and do a pommel horse routine, because if you saw a little while back on ABC Wildwater Sports, the last time I had that rush of adrenaline, that excitement of competition, it was followed immediately by probably the worst thing in my life. And I bring that up because I draw a lot of my motivation and a lot of my spirit from the guy I get to introduce here. This is such an honor for me because he is known and respected throughout the gymnastics world as the premier gymnast for a lot of reasons. First of all, he won his first world title when he was 16 years old. That's pretty impressive right there. And secondly, because he had a major accident and had a major problem with his leg, a car accident that almost left him without a leg at all. And he came back in 1987 to be another world champion. It is my great pleasure and an honor for me, and who I am drawing my energy for Seoul, Korea, to introduce the greatest gymnast in the world, Dmitry Bilozerchev.
I don't think you can say much more about that. Dmitry Bilozerchev is certainly the #1 gymnast in the world, even after that tragic injury.
Bilozerchev, as we told you, broke his leg 42 places. Doctors considered amputation.
Beautiful one-arm giant sequence. Look how extended he is. So one-arm flyaway half turn, perfect catch. He has just complete mastery of his skills. beautiful reverse hack into immediate flyaway half turn. Now, as you know, he has this bad leg. We put a softer mat down there. That's a great routine.
We'll be back with more. The Russians and the United States. Gymnastics from Pauley.
Sponsoring this whole event today. And Vidal, what really caused your interest in gymnastics and to get involved in such a great thing?
Well, Peter, I saw you and the guys, didn't I, in '84?
That's right.
And also Perestroika. I mean, it does make sense. It was a marvelous show today. The whole sense of, you know, the stretching, strengthening and balance that gymnastics has, I think is so good for the mind and the body. And the more kids, when you hear that 1 million kids in the USSR are doing it, I mean, it's a tremendous amount.
Now, you've been involved with USA Gymnastics now for quite a long time, for 4 years, since 1984. Have you really... It seems to me that you have a new love for our sport, and that you've gone to so many events, whether it just be to see us performing in your own shows or just to come watch gymnastics. Do you have a new love for it now? Is it because of what we did then, or have you been involved in gymnastics when you were younger?
You should see the blue marks on my back just trying, you know. No, I was never into gymnastics when I was younger. I was into soccer. I loved it. But it's quite obvious to me that ballet and gymnastics just gives people that great sense of their own body, and I think this is what the kids should get into. It's important. Well, I think that's what kept me interested from '84.
You bet. Well, you know, corporate sponsorship is what really makes the difference in amateur athletics, and you have done more for our sport than so many other people have, and it just does so much for us to keep you people involved. We really appreciate that, and we want to thank you.
It's my pleasure, truly. Thank you.
It has been truly, I think, in all honesty, as we told you when it started, a most unique and certainly outstanding program. We hope we haven't gotten in the way too much of all of these outstanding gymnasts from the Soviet Union, and of course the hopefuls for the United States. This Olympic year back on the floor now to the applause of the crowd, led by the Soviet women, the Soviet men, the United States women, the United States men. Flowers, an exchange to be made in that regard.
The United States Gymnastics Federation and Vidal Sassoon, thank you for coming. And we hope to see you again soon. But first, before we
now they come together.
Have an extra special performance.
How about that?
Look at this. Backflips right in a row, all the way around the circle. This is great.
One more time.
Magnificent. Yeah, here they go again. Oops. One more time, I don't think was in the script.
No. Well, notice how Tim didn't do the backflip because he got to rest that leg. But look at this. Everybody right around in circles. This is fun.
And the crowd loves it. And why not? The world's best. And quite probably they'll all meet again in Seoul, Korea in the late summer. Appreciative crowd here at Pauley Pavilion. 1,000 strong. Pauley was the scene of the great American triumph at '84. And a fitting location, the Russians and the United States gymnasts to meet in this friendly exhibition.
That's really what international athletics is all about. There's Juliette McNamara just there.
Pretty girl with pretty flowers.
That's right.
We'll be back with more right after this. Started earlier tonight. We promised you an exciting program, and I think we've delivered one for you. Peter, from a gold medal standpoint. This was, of course, just an exhibition between the Russians and the United States. But first of all, the Russians. They are at the top of their game, apparently, and they are the world's best, aren't they?
Yeah, they're the best in the world, and they're ready for 1988, it seems, right now. The skills that they performed were as good as you would see in any competition. Sure, they took some easy parts into the routine, took some of the hard tricks out, but that's just natural in a format like this. What was great was that they were here to please the crowd. The crowd was their judge tonight, and they loved it.
Yes, 9,000 plus, a magnificent crowd, and they thoroughly enjoyed the performance of both of these squads. What about the United States team? Did you like what you saw? Are you enthused about our chances?
Oh, I did. I really liked it a lot, and I really think that we're putting together a fine team. Most of the gymnasts that we saw here today will be competing in 1988. We have some others that are training, some that are hurt, and hopefully we'll put together the best team possible, and we'll be proud of what they do.
You mentioned in passing a moment ago, once the competition really starts, everybody turns it up a little notch higher, don't they?
Yeah, they do. When the pressure's on, you get the butterflies going, you really throw the big tricks. But it's okay, because sometimes in exhibitions, they tend to take some risks, too. They tend to try something new where they know they might make a mistake, and the crowd loves it.
Well, it was a great show. Thank you for your expertise. It was awfully nice working with you.
Thank you.
And I wish you continued success. Thank you for being with us. I think, as we promised you, an exciting program, we delivered it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us. And from Pauley Pavilion, for Peter Vidmar, I'm Tom Kelly. Thank you and good night.